All right, another amazing day and another amazing interview. Today is really such an amazing story of a gentleman who was like the leader of a gang. I mean, this guy has got some tales that you just don't want to miss. It's an amazing story of how someone's built up their life to come from this period of angry and angst and all these fighting and all this sort of ego that's messed up into their lives. They're living their lives for the wrong reasons, and to turn it all around and to now be a motivational speaker, to be an author, is just an amazing accomplishment. I truly recommend you hanging around for this beautiful and enticing interview with the one and only Luke S. Kennedy. So Life Lessons TV, look, it's going to be sort of, I think, a little bit edgy. I think it's going to be a little bit off the cuff. I'm letting you know now that once I get excited about a topic, I might swear a little bit. I might let a couple of curses go. So it's one of those things where I think I just want things to be kind of real. Hey guys, Adrian here. Welcome to another episode of Life Lessons TV. I am joined by none other than Luke S. Kennedy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
So, man, your special episode number 26. So, thank you for joining me. For those of you who don't know, we have just met today.
That's right, yeah.
So, what I love about this interview is that I'm finding out about you like we just met, and we just met. Yeah. So, that's awesome. So, without further ado, can you tell everyone who you are, what you do, and a bit about your story? Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, long story short, my name's Luke Kennedy. From about 15 to 21, 22, I was the leader of a street fighting gang. I weighed over 120 kilos, addicted to drugs, alcohol, made my money through stealing, robbing drug dealers. Scary and all that though is I came pretty close to murdering somebody. On the outside I looked like this big, strong, confident guy, but on the inside I was just this, incredibly awkward, like depressed, scared, anxious sort of guy. And, for those 6-7 years, I was just hated life. I was just this dirty thug, and I realised a few things in my early 20s that sort of helped me escape that life. So after escaping that life and getting rid of the drugs and alcohol and living a cleaner life, life couldn't be any better. I'm now a speaker, travel Australia speaking at prisons, young offender programs, schools, large corporate events. I'm a writer. I love my writing as well, so I've got a couple of books out. So yeah, life's really good, and I'm incredibly grateful for how my life is now.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, that was sort of a long story short, but long.
Yeah, we'll go into that. That's why we're here. All right. So first thing that comes to mind is how do you become a leader of a street gang? Like, is that something you work towards? Is there a job posting for something like that? Or, like, how do you do that?
Yeah. No, well, when I was kicked out of school when I was like 15, and I was kicked out of school for fighting, carrying on like a dickhead, whatever. And my dad and brother were both professional boxers, so I sort of grew up and knew how to fight, right? Mm-hmm. And I got in a few fights and whatever, and this one fight actually that sort of started my whole sort of shitty life, whatever. I got in a fight when I was in year 7 with a kid that was in year 10. Mm-hmm. And growing up with a family fighters, like I said, I know how to fight. So I beat this kid in front of pretty much the whole school.
Right.
And from that day on, people knew me as this fighter guy, whatever, Mm-hmm. So to live up to that label, like I was believing I'm a fighter, people, and I started getting a little bit of respect off people, and I felt, fuck, I'm pretty powerful, this is good, So I ran with it and just kept getting into fights. And then out of school, after getting kicked out, I met a crew of boys that were into graffiti, street fighting, robberies, drug dealing, shootings. Like, these guys were heavy characters, right? Mm. And, feeling that power of fighting, and I started getting a few fights in front of these sort of big guys, and they were impressed. I was like, fuck, like, I must be all right, And then from there, I just kept getting into fights after fights, and just stepping higher and higher up the ladder. And all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm one of the top guys. I'm only like 17, So it took a couple of years to get up there, and so just the progression of that, and just progression of just not taking shit off anyone and thinking I'm this big, heavy sort of guy, and just that just got me to become one of the leaders, the leader eventually. Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so. All right, that's interesting. You, when you're in a situation where I'm picking out a couple of things out of this. Obviously, look, you're an achiever. You may not have thought about it.
The wrong way at
but
the start,
you're kind of
right.
like, you know, sort of rising to the top there. You know, what are you feeding off at the moment? Is that sort of just that power, that hierarchy, that, you know, dominating? I mean, was there things, because you mentioned before, look, you know, I'm exterior, I'm this big, strong, tough guy.
Yeah.
On the interior, I hated my life. That's or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So I'm trying to pick what's fueling. What was missing that was being substituted for by the fighting and the gangs and all that kind of stuff?
Like you know, you can always sort of narrow it down to a couple of things. Like obviously, you know, when we're younger, it's when we pick up our belief systems. It's when we pick up our, you know, whatever our behaviours, right?
Yeah.
But I think, like looking back, I was this overweight kid, right? Like this massive, I was overweight, like this fat kid, right? And I never took I never took my shirt off in front of people and all this sort of stuff because, you know, I was worried what people would think. They'd sort of give me shit, right? Like, and I was just, I used to cop it, whatever. It wasn't like I was bullied or whatever because I was this big, like, but internally, you take it on, right? You sort of laugh. My dad used to G me up and call whatever, my brother, and all that sort of stuff. And I think, you know, being that person that worried what people think and being that self-conscious sort of person, my self-worth was pretty low. Like internally, my self-worth was pretty low. And coming out of that and then fighting, and that fight actually, when I was in year 7, was in front of my brother. Right, it was in front of my brother, and his mate, and I could sense that they were like, and it felt like, okay, I am somebody. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, I am someone, and I think I just got addicted to that, of being somebody and impressing people rather than worrying what you know, and it's still worrying what they think, but I'm trying to impress them in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's that, and then just throughout the gang life as well, it was just constantly trying to push it to the next level and impressing people and fighting, like taking on some heavy dudes and doing all this sort of stuff. I was just trying to push it more and more and more to get more recognition, to get more and more. You know, I think it was just building.
You felt like you had to sort of live up to a reputation.
That's right.
Like you sort of made your own brochure, so you've got to live up to that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly right.
Interesting.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's obviously a point where you had to make the decision as to whether you continue down that path or not. So, I mean, you don't have to go into detail, but what sort of brought you to a head? Because my understanding of that situation, this is purely from an outsider's point of view, right? Is you're obviously so far down like the rabbit hole that there's sort of no way out from my experience. And I've had mates that have gone into jail or and some of them have been murdered, right? And friends that I've known over the years, and it's just like they've never known a way out. That's just the way. And it's kind of like that whole Godfather sort of thing. As soon as I want to get out, they pull me back in. That's just their world.
That's right.
But you, fortunately, have found a way out. So can you talk to maybe that, I don't know, that transition, if you want to call it, the rock bottom that you had to hit before you saw there was an opportunity? What was that like? Yeah,
well, there's heaps of rock bottoms, to be honest. Like it wasn't just one thing. People ask me that question a bit, like what happened? And the answer is probably different every time because there is all different answers.
So it's like a series of things?
Oh, for sure. Like it's, you know, even though you say that people are stuck in this world, even though we are stuck in this world, we do still know right from wrong. We still do know which is the better life, right? Like we just sort of get stuck in this life, and so many different things happen, like stabbed in the back, punctured lung, guy stabbed in the head, and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And
so on two separate occasions?
Two separate occasions, yeah. That was with a knife. Like I came across came across this guy who I was sort of after for a while, whatever. Right. And when I approached this guy, like he was probably 10 meters away. When I approached this guy, he pulls out a knife. And I had sort of every opportunity to take off. This guy's got standing with a fucking knife, right? But I'm with one of my boys. He's with a few of his. Sure. Didn't want them thinking I was a bitch, you know? Yeah. So I run straight ahead. And I go on and stab me. Didn't think he would. And he reaches forward and sort of takes a swap with the knife. And I suck my stomach in and it just sort of catches my shirt. And now realizing he's going to fucking stab me. So I jump in and just throw this punch. And he sort of does the same. And it was just like sort of this bit of a scuffle. And then everything sort of just froze, right? Everything just sort of stopped. Right. And everything sort of slowed down, like he was just sort of stopped, and my boy was fighting one of his friends, but it was like we were in our own world, right? And I was like, what the fuck's going on here, sort of thing, and then he was just frozen, and he was like, had his eyes open, and I felt like a paint going down my back. So I look over, so he stabbed me, right?
Right.
So he takes off, so do his boys, and ambulance come. I'm struggling, I'm coughing up my blood, so it was a punctured lung. Anyway, so a few things like that happened, and nearly killing that guy as well that did that. Like sorry if I'm going into too many stories here, but it's 2 weeks into my recovery, from the stabbing, I'm just sitting at home with my girlfriend at the time. I was probably about 18, still living at home.
Yeah.
And you know, when we're at home, we're just sort of being ourselves, like not trying to impress anyone, whatever, wearing our shitty clothes or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And just being with my girl, being happy, whatever. And then I get a phone call and I look on my phone and it was one of the boys, right? And I was like, that fake mask comes on.
Yes.
I even spoke different, you know, I'm like, hey, what's doing, you know? Like this fake person. And he goes, the guy that stabbed you, he's at a party. It's like, do you want to get him?
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, you know, in my head, I'm like, I'm with my girl, I'd rather be here in bed, you know? But I'm like, yeah, come get me. Again, worrying about what they think, you know, I'm supposed to live up to this guy, right?
Of course.
And just determined every action I did was just summed up through that.
Right.
What are they going to think? Am I going to impress? Am I going to impress people? Like every single thing.
And this is 2 weeks later?
2 weeks later, yeah.
All right, after being stabbed in the lung.
I had to have they had this tube in the hospital.
Okay.
To drain all the blood from my lung, all this sort of shit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm at home.
So I'm already surprised that this is not enough to get you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm planning revenge.
But you want back.
I'm not planning revenge. I'm to my boys. I'm planning revenge. But in the inside, I'm going, fuck. I hope I don't come across him. You know, because I don't want to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Exactly.
Okay.
No one wants to do that.
Of course.
No one wants to do that in their pure state. You
So
know?
internally, you're like, I hope this doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well.
But it got brought to you by your friends. You're like, I can't back out. The boys are like,
well, I promised revenge.
This is the opportunity.
Fuck, I've got to get this guy, right? So I get the phone call, right, and the fake mask comes on. This fake person, right? Like, who I was supposed to be, you know, this fighter, this leader, this person that gets revenge, whatever, right? And so I go out to my parents' kitchen, open up the kitchen drawer, and I pick up this fat knife. And I'm standing there in my parents' kitchen, you know, I'm like fucking 18, 19, whatever. I'm holding it, and you know, that, like I said, that we know right from wrong. Their true self comes out, our intuition, whatever you want, your pure soul, your spirit, who we all are deep down, right? It's come out. You're gonna ask your questions. You're gonna do this. You're gonna kill this guy. You're gonna you're gonna end up dead. You're gonna go to jail, whatever, you know. And listening to that, I'm like, I don't want to do that sort of thing. But I go to put the knife back down in the drawer, but then that person is like, what are you, a bitch?
You
know, what are the boys are on their way? Are you gonna fucking shoot yourself?
Sure.
There you go, exactly.
Yes.
No, put the knife back down in my, you know, down the side, and you know, I might seem like, you know, I'm a bit bonkers, whatever, that you hear voices, but these different voices, like our true self even speaks to us in many ways, you know what I mean? So it mightn't be that voice in the head. I think it's that slight hesitation when we're about to do something or take something that we know we really should, you know, and that's our true self. I can telling us to pull back, but all these bullshit about worrying about what our boys think or trying to live up, that jumps in and fucking stands over it, and you know, so that all that shit stood over it. So I go out the front, and I'm standing at the front, waiting for my mates to rock up. 4 close friends I just grew up with through school, just normal guys, you know, just grew up with through school, and went, fuck God. So I jump in the car, and it felt like sort of we're driving towards this party, and nobody was speaking. It felt sort of like nobody was breathing, right? There was this fucking disgusting energy. It was fucking made you sick, right?
People, they knew what was going to go down.
That's what we're doing. That's exactly. They had a couple of
chances are you weren't the only one going through that.
Exactly, right? So get to the front of this party. By now the true self's gone because we were jamming each other like, let's fucking get in, fucking swearing. We're caught up in this ego.
Yes.
One ego is deadly, but bouncing off everyone else.
That's right.
It's this mastermind of ego, right? And I run up to the front of this party and I bang and I boot the door down. And I run through and I was going, where is he? Screaming, right? Where is he? Carrying this big knife. And there's all these, I can see his friends, because these people, it's like this culture of graffiti, and everyone knows each other.
I've got a picture in my mind. Yeah.
I've got all these guys. Where is he? I'm throwing him, I'm kicking him. And on the outside, you know, to everybody, because I was looking for him, but on the inside, I'm going, please don't be here. You know, I don't want this guy to be here. Nobody wants to do that, right?
Right.
So after about 2 minutes, it felt like 2 hours, I sort of have this realization. I'm like, fuck, he's not here. You know, he's not. And I'm like, yes. And I walk out, and I'm like, I'm not sort of a religious guy, but like, you know, I do believe in the universe and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just like thinking, like whoever was listening, you know, thinking the stars even, you know. And I find out that the next day that Matty was there, and he was in the backyard and heard us bust through the front door and jumped over the back fence, right? The guy that we're looking for.
Okay.
Right? And had like he'd been inside or whatever, you know, like who knows? Like I'd be dead, he'd be dead, I'd be in jail, he'd be in jail, right? And looking back on that car, you know, like there was like you were just saying, like it wasn't only like there was 5 of us in that car, you know what I mean? And each of us was just, nobody wants to be in that car. Not one of us wanted to be in there. You know, each of us was just worrying about what the other person thought. And it got us sitting in that car.
All were inwardly hoping that this would dissolve.
Please, you know, like if even one of us just stepped up and said, "Mate, let's not do it." Everyone would think for that.
Your rational brain.
But then everyone would go, "He's a bitch," you know. But we won't do it anyways, you know.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So nobody wants to do that. Nobody in their pure state wants to do that. So my whole life was like that. That was 8, and then 9. Then I got stabbed in the head. Like that was by one of the boys. You know what I mean? By one of them. Like we were drinking, whatever. I won't go into too much. We were drinking, and I got an argument with him. I punched him, and then next thing I know, I'm in hospital. He broke 2 bottles, had 100 staples in my head to hold my head together, top of my right ear, surgically, all this sort of stuff.
And that's all the patterns on your on the back of your head.
That's right. So
that's not just some fancy haircut.
No, that's right. I'll ask for my money back because that was a haircut. And so all this stuff was just, and it all comes back to again trying to live up to these labels, right? And like a few other things happened in my life, and saw mateys die, saw a friend got run over by a train, all this sort of crazy stuff, right? And
so all this is happening over 17, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, that's right. That's
like
right.
How old are you now?
I'm 31.
Right, and so up until like, how far back are we going?
23 was when I pulled my shit together.
Right.
Like about 23, I got my first ever job, right? Like a couple of things happened that sort of made me like pull back from it, like the stabbings in the head and all this sort of stuff. But as well, I was incredibly depressed. I was down.
Really?
I was a scared motherfucker. Like, I was really like paranoid anytime a car would pull up.
I can imagine. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, like,
always on edge.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I was a good, like to my parents, I was a good kid. You know, I was just a normal kid. We all are. Yeah. Everyone's just a normal kid. You know, but we just get caught up in this world. And a few things happened, like some. But I know this might sound silly, but I was watching a big sort of eye-opening moment for me was the movie Click with Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Yeah.
With the remote. And
with the remote.
Stuff, yeah, of course.
I was having one of my drug binges, and at the back end of it, and depression was setting in, right? Like down in the dumps, scared, like dark in my dark room, and it was even raining outside, like perfect setting to be depressed, right?
Yeah.
And Adam Sandler, I was watching the movie, like it's a comedy, but it's deep as hell, right?
Yes.
At the end of the movie, you know, he gets really big and he dies leaving a life full of regrets, full of not just skipping through it, right? Of not experiencing things, him hating life, people hating him, all this sort of stuff, right? Yeah. And I realised, I know it sounds a bit
fast forwarding all the bad shit. It's a good message, and great message.
And all the good shit.
Yeah.
Like, eventually it was
missing out all the good stuff.
Because not being present, right?
Yes.
And I realised that's exactly, like I know it sounds corny, but it's exactly where my life was heading, right?
Yeah.
I was going to get to the end of my life without having a go, without experiencing the good things in life, without people without being proud, without getting a good career, without sport, whatever, you know. And in the movie, he wakes up and realizes it was just a dream, right?
Yes.
And that night, I had this I was short of breath. I shit myself. I'm going to die one day, you know. Like I'm going to be dead, and I'm not going to experience all this sort of stuff, you know. And I'm like, I've got to have a crack. I want to have it because we treat this life like it's a practice, right?
Yes.
Like, for something that, like depending on what your belief systems are, whatever.
Yeah,
like, we don't wake back up in this body anyway.
But for you, I can imagine because you're pretty invincible by this point. Like you've already been fucking stabbed, and twice, and got into all these fights, and you're still pushing on.
That's right. Yeah.
So I can imagine that you would have felt, in one hand, like incredibly invincible, like very. Nothing's going to get to me sort of thing, but that was that moment where you're kind of
eventually you do die.
The days are numbered.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And having that moment, because we, like I said, we treat this life like it's a practice, but this is the main event. You know what I mean? And when I got that, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? So then I started searching for answers. Like read a couple of books, started getting into my boxing, my training, because I wanted this. Maybe it was a thing where I still wanted to hold on to that macho image of that fighter, but I just wanted to be a positive side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So fitness has got a great way of pulling you out of funk.
Mate, for sure.
What book did you read?
I was handed The Power of Now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right. And you went and watched Eckhart Tolle the other.
That's right.
A month ago.
I saw him. He saved my life.
Yeah.
He did. He just saved my life. At the start, I was handed it's funny. I got handed the book through a lie that I said. Right.
Right. This is interesting.
So my dad's mate, a good friend of my dad, Frank King, legend guy. He passed away a couple of years ago. Really incredible guy, really good mentor to me, to us, right? We were just talking, whatever, and he goes, look, I'm reading this book. It's called The Peaceful Warrior.
Yes.
Do you want to read it? I said, yeah, for sure. So he gave me this book. I read the first 10 pages, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking about the universe and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, what the fuck is this? You know?
Yeah.
And a good mate of mine, and he would always talk about the universe. He was a funky sort of guy. He wasn't in that gang life. He was a guy I grew up with through cricket and all this sort of stuff. And he'd always talk about the universe and all this sort of stuff. And I thought he was just fucking off his head, right? Well, I had this book and I said, okay, bro, I've read this book. You've got to read it. He goes, really? Okay, cool. So I didn't read it. It was bullshit. Okay. So he read it, right? Yeah. And he goes, wow, I can't believe you like this book. So for that Christmas, because he's thinking I'm on this journey, he got me The Power of Now.
Wow.
And it changed my life.
Really?
It changed my life.
Fantastic.
You know? Yeah. And from there, the Power of Now, made me realize, that the labels, the how, our thought, you think we think out that voice, that's us, you know what I mean? So once I got that separation, and that those labels aren't who I was, that I was this genuine, happy, good person, I didn't fuck what people thought about that, then that's when I could start making those steps towards a better life. A
mutual buddy of ours, Scott Franklin, just bought me a book, A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Have you ever read
I've heard it, no, I haven't read
it. It's deep. The forward's 500 pages long. It's just bullshit deep. Right? But
cool,
but it's cool. I'm just starting getting into each daily lesson, and we're sort of keeping each other accountable for for what we're learning. But it's again, it's that whole thing around you give labels and meanings to your thoughts. Your thoughts and things that you worry about are not exactly real. There's a whole thing of what Eckhart Tolle about the watcher and the observer, and just seeing the thoughts come in and go, and how many times they happen and all that kind of stuff. And the more and more you become aware of that,
it does your head in at the start, right?
Yeah, man. It opens up the Pandora's box. Yeah, that's right. All right, so we've gone through, fucking knucklehead Luke.
Yeah.
And now we've gone into awakening, yeah. So what happened from here? You got your first job, and then when did the whole let's teach this to other people, let's tell some stories? My observation from a distance of you, because I follow you on Facebook, is just all cool stories about your past and about what anxiety meant, what fear meant, what drove you to the point that you're at, and what took that leap. So now what's the driver for you?
Yeah, cool.
What's going on now?
Well, after the awakening or whatever, I started with how it sort of started sharing my story and looking at different angles of helping people and connecting with people and realizing that I could help people was I started with my boxing. I started doing some training. I was this 120 kilo guy. You know what I mean?
You were 120 kilos?
Over 120 kilos, yeah. This
it's
big
hard to
fat
imagine.
slob. Bundy rum every day, just this fat slob.
Right. Okay.
And getting my first job gave me some discipline into my life. Okay, so I started packing my lunch. I was still getting on benders on the weekends, probably from Thursday even. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something. Still getting on it, but at least I was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was making some steps, right?
Yeah.
And then packing my lunch at work, I lost about 5 kilos. I lost 10 kilos, and I started walking home instead of getting mum to pick me up from the station and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow. And then I started jogging home a bit, and I told my dad, can you teach me how to box? He goes, yeah, definitely, but I need to lose a little bit more weight and set a target. This was one way to keep me focused.
Gotcha.
So I ended up losing, all this weight. I eventually lost 47 kilos, just under 50 kilos. Yeah. And started training with a boxing trainer who my brother was training with as well. And that brought me and my brother closer together. My brother and I closer together. and for the first time we sort of getting along, we got this bond together, which was great. And I didn't know it at the time. I look back now, and I think at any of our passions, I think the driving force, or the addiction to different passions, is that living that depressed life and all these crazy thoughts and all this sort of stuff. I think when we find our passion, it silences our thoughts because we're totally present.
Sure.
Whether you're on stage, whether you're teaching, whether you're doing this.
Yes.
I bet you haven't thought about what's going on later.
No,
exactly.
Totally focused.
That's right. Yeah. And I found that with my boxing, as soon as that bang, that ding, or when I'm training, it's complete presence. And it was like this meditation. I'm getting my head punched in, but I'm meditating.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I became addicted to that. And then I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I made the connection from that to the Eckhart stuff, and then my life I was living now. And I was just making all these different connections. Meditation. And okay, Buddhism, silent thoughts, and then Eckhart, and all this sort of stuff, and the labels, and I was just like, wow, this whole world, this whole energy, spiritual world sort of thing, you know? And the boxing, and then I started, training people after doing my personal training course, and met my girlfriend, who was my ex-wife, who was my wife and now my ex-wife, still great friends, which is another huge story, right? But and she taught me a lot about business, and then I just put that into the mix as well, business, spiritual, and all this sort of stuff, and running the gym and personal training. I was a few parents, like, obviously heard my story and stuff like that, and asked if I could speak to their kids. A few of their kids were going through, so I'd speak to them, and I realised I could connect with these guys, because I was down on their level.
Becoming more of a mentor.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, the only thing was I was wrecked, because I was running a business, I was running these kids.
Really?
So how can I get it out to the masses, So I banged the book and just took off from there.
Yeah, so what was your first book?
Stabbed Ego.
Stabbed Ego, okay.
That's right.
And you got another one out or coming out?
So it's finished, it's just in production stage at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell the title of that?
Sex, Drugs and a Buddhist Monk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So already a fucking catchy title.
Yeah. So
definitely worth a read.
So the first book, like the Stabbed Ego, it obviously got the cool stories and stuff like that to get peeps reading, and but it's got the teachings of Eckhart in it, like, but it's in terms that you can get
the meaning.
I get kids every day like messaging, wow, like I thought I was crazy. They think they're crazy. They think they're the only ones with these thoughts, But we all do. We've just got to find ways of controlling them,
Yeah.
So that's the first one is opening, like, it's the personal development, but for people that wouldn't necessarily be into personal development, cool stories, sex, drugs, violence, all this sort of stuff, but teaching them shit as well.
Yes.
So that was the first one, is opening their eyes up to the ego, and the second one is still this cool stories, but of showing them ways how to silence that, silence those thoughts. So so it's been really cool.
Wow, man, that's a pretty amazing journey so far, and you're only 31. So what's to come after that? All right, that's cool. So what I want to speak to now, the things that's coming to mind, is because you've obviously had your life, you've learned to, I guess, take a different spin to some of the tools and strategies that you've learned, although they might have been put to bad use at the beginning. So correct me if I'm wrong, but throughout your adolescence, you would have learned things to do with, obviously self-awareness was a big one. Just becoming aware of the ego and the thoughts and how you can direct that. Being in that kind of environment, you almost developed leadership skills unknowingly, maybe. So you could kind of direct and delegate and all that kind of stuff, which again is like, these are all businessy type of skills.
Exactly.
You probably handled a fair bit of money at any one time, so you learnt, you probably didn't do P&Ls or anything like that.
Taxman wasn't saying
but certainly but certainly your business acumen was kind of developed, so now you're using that for, like, you're using your powers for good now,
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
All right, so that's cool.
So it's the same concept. It is a little bit different though. Like back in the leading the whole, and then coming into the business, like the gym, I was partners with my business partner. And it is you still have the same sort of, the same underlying things with leadership, but it's been tough, a lot tougher leading in business than it has been back. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's been,
because you've got morals.
Everyone do.
You've got morals. Damn those morals.
The new approach. Yeah, that's right.
No, you've got it. And it's been an exciting new process for me. Reading up on leadership and all that. So I love my reading and all that sort of stuff. So reading up on leadership, and it just makes. But sometimes it freaks me out because I realise how far I've got to come to become that really good leader. It's things that I'm missing out on, but I love learning. So it's helping me. Yeah.
All right. So the show is called Life Lessons.
Yes.
Right? So
I love that, by the way.
Thank you. Man, it's an interesting concept because I come from, like, as you do now, like, it's sort of it's a business background, but I understand that, I've got this saying, behind every screen is a human being. I think people tend to have this perception and a judgment from the outside looking in that when they see, like, Luke now, you got your shit together. you know, and this guy's speaking and he's writing
all
books,
smoke
he's
and
a
mirrors,
fucking
mate.
go-getter, you know. That's right, but I mean, there's a journey, and we've just discovered, like, to me, probably a snippet of that journey, you know. So there's a process involved, and I think the more and more, personally, that I can help people feel that they're not alone, much the same way as when you were saying to younger kids, like when they read your book, like, you're not the only one that has that I'm not the only one that has that thought. Exactly. I'm not the only one that thinks that of me. You know, we've got people that are right now, and even now I would say that from my own personal experience, I have times of super self-doubt. You know, my ego does get bruised.
For sure.
I do feel like there are times where maybe I'm not good enough, or I won't be enough, or I'm not living up to my own brochure.
100%, yeah.
So I got two questions for you. One is, for me personally, I feel like the path that I'm on now forces me to live congruently to my own values and beliefs, because that's what I'm projecting to the marketplace.
Exactly.
So I can't ever fall below that. And when I do that in life, with my wife, with my kids, I'm the first one to pick myself up and go,
anyways, you feel the disconnection, yeah.
So how do you feel, like what's your deepest values? What's your core mission, you know, now, like knowing what you've been through and what you can give to the world?
Yeah, going through that life, I refer back to that life back then a lot, you know, and a lot of it was obviously negativity and drama and violence and all this sort of stuff. So anything that's going to bring me further away from that life as possible. You know, I'm a big believer in doing everything for the greater good. You know, so everything. Like when meeting my I refer back to her a bit, my ex-wife, she taught me a lot, you know, and she always talked about the greater good, you know, and I was sort of like, what is this sort of thing? Because I remember I threw a bit of rubbish out on the floor. She goes, pick it, you can't, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? Like, she goes, it's for, you can't do that, it's for the greater good. Like you've got to pick it up, throw it in the bin. And I said, and every move that I make now, it's for the greater good, you know. So if it's going to benefit somebody else, great. I'll work my ass off to do it. It's going to benefit me, you know. Like, great. I'll do it. So I try to disconnect from anything that's drama, anything negative, even the news. I hardly watch the news, all that sort of stuff. So what drives me now is happiness. You know, my deepest value is happiness. Like, and whatever's going to bring about that, you know, and I talk about different kids have different passions, whatever, and I think it's about what's going to make you happy, like what's going to make you happy, you know. Like sometimes we put so much pressure on different people to become this certain whatever, but if it's not making them happy, you're going to die an unhappy bastard, you know what I mean? So, you know, my greatest drive and is getting into the greater good and whatever's going to make you happy, because I know that there's no better feeling in life than being happy, because everything we do, like I hear a lot through Anthony Robbins and all this sort of stuff, every move we make is really us trying to be happy, you know. Like I want to have a kid. Why? I'm going to make happy. I want to make $1 million. Why do you want to make $1 million? Because I want to go on a trip. Why's the trip? What's the trip? Because I think it'll make me happy.
Sure.
You know, like every move, when you break it down, is about us trying to be happy. So whatever's going to bring that, that's what my driving force is now, is happiness, after living a depressed, shitty life for so long.
Awesome.
How's that?
That's good, man. It's good enough for you. It's good enough for me.
Oh, man.
All right. My final question, and again, so I was alluding to before, the show's called Life Lessons. I know that you talk to a lot of youth, and if there was one life lesson that you could give us, the viewers and the listeners here, to leave us with, what would it be?
Be yourself. Be yourself. You know, and being yourself comes of so many different things. Like I said, through my talks with the students, I talk about the progression in life, how we're this pure being, right? And then I picked up these labels of violence, of stress, and all this sort of stuff, and I became this fake person. And the further you get away from your true self, the unhappier you become, right? So, and then I talk about how I started getting rid of those labels to get back on that journey of my true self.
Right.
So, being your true self, like I know it's easy, but it's a lot easier said than done, because you know there's so much pressures, you know, for kids, for business owners, for everyone these days, about things we have to live up to, or you know, in the market we've got to do certain things, we have to look like a certain person. We can't do that because they're going to think that we've got to do this, and it's so easy for us to disconnect from our true self, you know, and finding ways of getting back to my true self was through, you know, my training, my gym, being confident, being happy, being was getting rid of some negative thoughts. Meditation as well was a big factor for me. Like at the start I thought it was a big thing where just tripped out hippies did under a tree sort of thing. But the meditation just helped. All it does is like reduce thoughts. It's great. And reading and all this sort of stuff and whatever passion, like it might be your writing, it might be people like music, people like whatever, speak. There's different things that. And if it makes you feel good, that's living to your true values. That's living to your authentic self. So it's about my main thing is to get to be yourself, not worrying about what other people think. Again, a lot easier said than done, but by becoming aware of certain actions you're taking or not taking, because you're worried about what other people think, and really making a connection to that. Okay, I'm doing that because I'm worried about, and making that connection is the first step towards releasing all that bullshit. So if you can just find who your true self is, okay, and reconnect with that, that's life right there.
Brilliant. Thank you. There you go, guys. This has been Life Lessons TV, episode number 26. Been joined by the one and only Luke Kennedy. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
My man.
Fucking excellent.
Sweet.
So, Life Lessons TV. Look, it's going to be sort of, I think, a little bit edgy. I think it's going to be a little bit off the cuff. I'm letting you know now that once I get excited about a topic, I might swear a little bit. I might let a couple of curses go. So it's one of those things where I think I just want things to be kind of real.